Hey guys, what's up? This is going to be a comparison video between the two most iconic weapons in history, the AK and the M4. Now this is going to be an airsoft comparison video. However, in a few seconds I'm going to go into the real steel counterparts and do a little quick summary of the pros and cons of both and a little history lesson on that. So if you just want to jump straight into the airsoft comparison video, annotation will be here of what time to skip forward to, but I recommend sticking around for the real steel comparison just so you get a good idea of what the airsoft guns are based off of. But with that being said, this is going to be part 1, and this is going to go over all of the external pros and cons of the M4 and the AK. And now the two guns I'm going to be using is the SEMA AKM and the KWA M4. So with that being said, let's get started.
The AK-47 was developed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in 1949 and intended to provide the Soviet Union with a powerful and reliable weapon. The AK-47 utilizes the 7.62 by 39mm round and features both semi and fully automatic firing modes. By using bulkier and stronger parts and incorporating a simple design, the AK-47 was soon referred to as the most reliable gun ever built. It is adaptable, inexpensive to manufacture, and easy to clean with a rugged build. However, because of these larger parts and the design of the gas system, the ruggedness of the AK-47 takes away from some of its accuracy. Since the initial development of the AK-47 back in 1949, there have been countless variations and spin-offs on the design, varying from compact shotguns to sniper rifles. The AK-47 is easily one of the most iconic rifles out there due to its reputation, and although it's not that accurate, it shows the ingenuity of Russian engineering and is still used today all around the world. The M4 carbine, however, is a more modern weapon with its design based off of the earlier AR-15 platform, which was designed by Eugene Stoner and made by Armalite back in the 1950s. However, the M4 only came into service in 1994, making it a relatively new take on the AR-15. The M4 carbine is a gas-operated, air-cooled, magazine-fed selective fire weapon with semi-automatic and full-auto modes, as well as a telescoping stock. The M4 carbine fires the 5.56 NATO round, which is smaller than the AK-47 7.62, but bridges the gap between a submachine gun and a heavy assault rifle. The M4 carbine is currently used by the U.S. military and other government agencies. However, the AR platform is notorious for being unreliable and complicated to take down, and has a bad reputation for its poor performance during the Vietnam War, with constant jams and malfunctions. However, the M4 carbine, with added design improvements, showed to be a reliable and effective assault rifle with countless aftermarket parts available. Since its introduction, like the AK, there have been numerous amounts of manufactured variations of the M4 and AR platform, ranging from submachine guns to sniper rifles. So with that being said, let's move on to the airsoft counterparts. So let's say these two guns are in the $200 price range, which they are. So starting off with the AK, every AK in the $200 price range is going to be a very high quality AK, or at least a decent AK. With that being said, let's start off with the externals. Because the airsoft versions use the real steel design, they're going to share the same benefits of the real steel weapon. So this means that airsoft AKs are using larger, bulkier parts and have a very strong receiver normally. And because of this, they are very reliable in the airsoft world. I mean, you can look up tons of videos on YouTube on torture tests, and I mean, these things can take a beating. That's just what they were designed for. Now, the main problem with AKs is that there's not much you can do to them to make them your own, especially if you're on a low budget. I mean, if you really want to make your own AK so that it's something that's personal to you, you're going to have to put down a lot of money compared to an M4, where like with an M4, you could get better customization for a fraction of the cost. So that's something that really deters people from actually buying the AK. And I mean, the whole point of having an AK is to have it the way it was meant to be, just like that rugged Russian design. And if you're going to spend like $500 trying to make it look like an M4, adding rails and all of these accessories to it, then, I mean, you might as well buy an M4. So that's really where the AK falls in the external category. Now, as for the M4, it shares the opposite external strengths and weaknesses of the AK. Although M4s can still take a beating, they aren't as sturdy or as rugged as the AK, and that's due to the fact that they just rely on smaller connecting parts to keep it together, which are susceptible to breaking under stress. For example, I've heard stories of guys just like falling forwards on their M4s and snapping their outer barrels in two, or having their outer barrels just jam into the gearbox, whereas with an AK, that wouldn't happen because you have that big gas block pretty much protecting the space between the outer barrel and the actual receiver. So now, this doesn't mean that M4s are fragile, it just means that they can break easier than an AK if not treated correctly. Now, like I said before, appearance-wise, it all comes down to preference. But the availability of upgrades and aftermarket parts for the M4 is pretty much infinite, which gives you an opportunity to really do whatever you want to make the gun look and to make the gun function the way you want it to. So because of the customizability that the M4 has, it's going to get the upper hand external-wise. Now, for the functionality of these guns, it sort of depends on the person using it and what they prefer, but in general, AKs are very long, so it can be awkward to hold them at times. The AKM doesn't really suffer that problem, but most AK-47s are very long and slim, and they can be unbalanced. Now, another issue that is common among pretty much all AKs is that the selector switch is susceptible to loosening up over time. Now, that's a quick fix, and it's actually very easy to do. However, another issue with the selector switch is that in order to actually change your firing mode, you have to take your finger off the trigger, and you're gonna have to actually like take your whole hand in order to move it down. And at times, it won't even it's very easy to just swipe it all the way down, and it's sort of hard to get it to stay in full auto at times. So that's just something that's sort of annoying, and that just comes with the initial design of the AK, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, the M4 is not only more compact, but all of its weight is centered and displaced right on top of your hand, making the gun much more balanced. Also, most M4s come with an adjustable stock that is more significant than you may think. Having a collapsible stock not only affects eye relief, but makes breaching doors, clearing rooms, and storage much easier, not to mention the fact that it gives you the option to adjust the length of your stock. Another thing is that the mag release is a lot closer and easier to use than the AK's mag release, and the fire selector is much more favorable to the shooter.
Alright guys, so that about does it for part 1, the external review. Now, I think this is going to be a 3-part series instead of the 2-part series, which I said before, pretty much because I'm going to space it out a little bit so you don't have to do it through 10-minute long videos. The next 2 videos won't be as long, guys. So if you want to watch part 2, the link to that will be right here. That will be a performance comparison between the AK and the M4, or you can skip to part 3, where when I'm going to score up what each gun got in each category, and we will choose a winner. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.